Hello, everyone. Welcome. We're pleased to have you with us today in what we hope is a series of many Secure Video webinars to come. Today's about our e-documents feature, and we're very pleased to share some more information with some of you who have been asking questions about it, and especially excited to share with you some recent updates to the feature itself. So welcome today. The webinar today is about modernizing your practice with SecureVideo's e-documents feature. So we will dive right in and go ahead and get started. Just a little bit of housekeeping for today. I have with me on the call several SecureVideo staff members, but I also have my fellow account manager, Sabrina Smith. I'm Kate Brandis, as I mentioned. Sabrina and I are both account managers with SecureVideo and work with many of our customers for larger organizational accounts and have spent a lot of time working particularly with them on the e-documents feature and helping to utilize the feature to help them streamline their telehealth workflows. So we're hoping that what we've learned along the way can help lend some of that to you and your use of the product as well. So the agenda for today's webinar, first, we're going to talk a little bit about why using the e-documents feature is important and helpful to your practice. We're going to talk about ways that e-documents are used. The idea behind this being that hopefully you'll walk away from the webinar today with just some food for thought in terms of how other people are using this feature and how you might be able to incorporate some of this into your own practice. We're going to talk about how to build or edit e-document templates or blank e-documents in your account. I have a star next to this because this is our recently released update to the feature. If you've ever experienced our e-documents builder previously, just as of a couple of days ago, you'll see some nice enhancements to this feature that we hope will make it a lot easier for you to add in different types of fields and to make changes to any e-documents that you might have existing in your account. So we're excited to share that with you, and you as part of this webinar are among some of the first to be able to see the feature and the updates. Then we're going to talk about creating packets, so different packets of forms that you can send to your telehealth participants. And then we're going to talk through some example workflows of what can be done in terms of assigning packets to your participants and even assigning a document to yourself as a host if there's a situation where you need to fill out a document in your account. And then at the end, we're going to go through some Q&A. So if you'll notice in the Zoom webinar, you should have access to the questions feature. Sabrina's going to help me keep an eye on questions as they come in. Hopefully we'll be able to find some breaks and address those, but mainly we will address questions towards the end as time allows. So just stand by for that. All right, so this is a lot of information to pack into a 30-minute webinar. What I would recommend and what I would hope for you is today that you keep in mind the recording of today's webinar will be sent to you by email after the webinar. So you'll be able to go back and access this information later. So hopefully, you don't feel like you have to retain too much information. I'd much rather you just watch what we're doing today, get some good ideas in your mind, see some examples of how the feature can be used, and then come back to it later and let us, especially our support team, help you with any questions that come up. We will also be sharing a detailed support article with you. This is going to have screenshots of everything that we cover today. So if you're a type of person that likes to kind of go in and do it yourself, just know that the documentation does exist to help you with the feature if you need help. And then just remember that our support team is very customer service oriented. We encourage you to get in touch with us if there's any questions that you run into later as you're trying to apply this feature and start to utilize it in your practice. We can even offer professional services to help build the forms for you in your account and help you set up your packets so that it's appropriate for your specific account. So just keep that in mind as we go along today. So first, let's start with just a quick poll of all of you who are in attendance today. I'm going to share this poll with you. We're interested to know, are you currently using the e-documents feature? So if you could just take a moment and answer whether or not you are already using the e-documents feature in your SecureVideo account. We'll give a few minutes to answer here. All right, I'm seeing a pretty good spread here. I'm going to go ahead and end the poll. Thank you so much for participating. What we're seeing is a pretty good equal amount of people who are not using the feature versus using the feature. So that's good for us to know as we're going through the demonstration today. We'll talk about some of the differences from when you start using the feature, and then maybe if you're already using it and just looking to make some enhancements or perhaps add documents to your account. So thank you for answering that. All right. Continuing on, we're going to talk a little bit about why using the eDocuments feature is going to be beneficial for you. So if you're not already using the feature, some things to keep in mind, 3 major points here. One is an improved patient experience. So we all want our participants or our clients, patients, to have the best possible experience with telehealth. I know that's why many of you use Secure Video in the first place. It's an easy to use platform, and it gives your patients or your clients a really good experience in terms of connecting virtually. Well, the benefit to the eDocuments feature is an improvement in terms of the paperwork that's affiliated with your practice. So if you're providing an improved experience for your patients to be able to fill out their documents online, which a lot of people really do expect nowadays, sort of an easy online way to fill out forms and documents, then the idea there is that it improves their patient satisfaction and therefore improves the likelihood that they will continue using your services as a provider. Next, it's an easier provider experience is what we're hoping to achieve. I mentioned we talked to many different types of medical practices, and a lot of them are in different places in terms of where they are with their paperwork. So some providers have told us in the past they have separate platforms that incorporate all of their documents that they can send to their patients and have them fill them out. Some of them are just sending them via email, blank versions of their documents and asking patients or clients to fill out paperwork and just email it back to them. Some of them are still doing, hard copy in the office. They'll have patients fill out forms in the office. So it really runs the gamut in terms of where different practices are with their paperwork. What we do know is that we hear that very often this is a common point of pain among medical practices, is that many people struggle with the whole, collecting paperwork, keeping it all organized, having it where it's easily accessible when you need it. And then making it easy for your clients or your patients to fill it out. So what we hope is that by incorporating it into the telehealth process, that it becomes an easier experience for you as the provider. And then finally, security. We all know that if you're asking a patient or a client to fill out documentation, a lot of the times we're asking them to write down or include some of their most private and most personal health information, and it's very sensitive in a lot of cases. So security is of utmost importance. The benefit of using SecureVideo's eDocuments feature is once you're collecting that patient information via these forms, the document itself is stored securely in your SecureVideo account, and it's easy to access later. So there's not concern about this information getting out of the SecureVideo and out of your HIPAA compliant environment here. So those are some of the benefits in terms of why to use the eDocuments feature. So let's talk a little bit about how. Some of the common types of documents that we see used for Secure Video are things like consent forms. If you need to capture a telehealth consent, for example, where you need your patient or your client to sign off on a document saying that, yes, they consent to treatment. That's a commonly used form. And then we see things like information gathering forms, like new patient information, a medical history form, or any type of questionnaire that you may need a client or a patient to fill out that can be incorporated into your account. There's a privacy policy in a lot of cases where you're just sending a document that includes what your privacy policy statement is, but often you'll need a participant or a patient to sign off on that acknowledging receipt. So Secure Video would accommodate that capability. And then finally, we see a lot of surveys. So if you're trying to measure patient or client satisfaction, especially after a telehealth visit or just in general, eDocuments can be used to fill out surveys as well. All right, so let's dive in. We're going to go right into a demonstration of the eDocuments feature within my demo account in Secure Video. So I will share right here. This is my demo account for East Coast Medicine here. This is a view that I'm sure many of you are quite used to seeing here. So if I scroll down the page, what you'll see is, of course, all of my telehealth sessions that are scheduled. You'll see here's a big group session, 3 participants here. And then as I scroll down the page, I've got all my scheduled sessions that are coming up. Now, what you may not be used to seeing if you're not using the eDocuments feature yet is that underneath each session, is now going to show this session documents section. So this is telling me of this session, for any of the participants that are assigned documentation, here are the forms that are assigned, and it shows me the status of those forms. So you can see here that Sarah, John, and Chuck have all done a really good job of completing their documentation already. And then if I come down the page a little bit, here's a session I have with a participant, Stephanie, and this is showing me that she has 3 documents that I've assigned to her, and they are required ahead of her session. The red exclamation point will indicate that those are not yet completed. So the great thing is as the participant fills out their paperwork, their e-documents, it's going to show me the status of those documents in real time as it's being filled out. So if I now see that, for example, with Ellery, that she has completed all her documentation, I, as the provider, can just click on the View button, and I can see how Ellery has answered all the questions on her e-document. So you can go into your telehealth session just having already seen what their responses are to the forms that you want them to fill out and being better informed ahead of your session. All right, now when you have e-documents in your account, the place to go to find all these is under Features here across the top, and then e-documents. And I will note for a moment, what you're seeing here is an account administrator view. So if you are not the administrator of your account, if you have the host role, for example, your view may be a little bit different, and you would need to work with an account administrator on your account in order to make any changes to your e-documents feature. So just be aware of that. But again, I'm going to go to Features and e-documents. Now what this is showing me is, because I have my e-documents all set up and I'm using the feature, it's going to show me an index of all the completed documents that are filled out and stored in my account. So as I scroll down the page, I'm seeing what type of form it is and then who submitted it. So here's the ones that Ellery completed right here. Now I can click View right here to view the form, or if in the event that you need to delete it, you can click the Delete button here. Across the top, there are some filter options here. So you'll see here, I have mine filtered to where it's only showing me forms from the last 30 days. But if I would like to see, for example, from February on, what were my e-documents that were completed, I can just click Filter, and it's going to now pull up all the forms on my account. You can also narrow it down by user. So if you have an account with multiple users on it, and you only want to see one host's forms, for example, you can narrow that down by specific user. And then you can also filter it by template. So which type of form do you want to look for? So if I only want to see my telehealth consent forms for Dr. Coates, I can click Filter, and it only brings up those results. Now, if you're using e-documents for the very first time and you don't have any forms completed yet, what you're going to see is a screen that looks like this. And it's the same thing as if I were to click Edit Templates here. So let's click Edit Templates. This is now the page that's going to show me what templates exist in my account. If you don't have any, this page will be blank, but you can go down here down the left side of my screen and see all the different forms that I have set up in my account. So I have a medical history form, new patient information. There's a post-visit survey that I've created. This one is a returning patient visit questionnaire. This is one that's actually in draft mode. I'm working on building this form. So you'll see here it's noted as inactive because I haven't finished it yet, and I'm not ready to share it with anybody just yet. So let's look at some of these forms as a preview. I want to give you an idea of some of the capabilities of fields that you can include in your forms. So if you click preview on any of these templates, it's going to show you what the blank form looks like. So this is essentially what your participant will see when they log into their telehealth session and complete their form. So here it is across the top. I've got my participant name. This is filled in based on who was invited to the session. I have some checkboxes here. So if you want them, for example, to just give you an idea of some of the conditions in their family, they can do checkboxes here or click none of the above. You'll see this red dot here in some of my questions. That red dot indicates that it's a required field. So you can set any of your fields to be either optional or required for your patients or your clients. Here's another checkbox example. Here you can do radio buttons. So if you need them to choose between one of two answers, for example, you can have radio buttons included. We can include big text areas. So if you want them to be able to type open-ended and just give you, for example, a list of their medications, they can go in here and type in the form. Tylenol, yes. And then do they have any allergies to medications? Again, another example of radio buttons. Here's a drop-down field that I've included. So here where you can use several options here and just put them in a drop-down list for them to choose from. And then here is one of the signature capabilities that we offer. At the bottom of your forms, you can have them sign electronic documents either by typing in their name. So you can just have them type in this field. Or the other option is to have their typed name along with a mouse or hand-drawn signature. So that way it just is that additional step of verifying that they're signing that document. And I'll show you an example of that too. If I go back to templates, let's take a quick look at this one. This is a telehealth consent form that I have in my account. If I click preview, again, this one is just a lot of text information that I've put in here. And really the meat of it is down here in the signature line. So for this form, we're asking them to not only type in their name, but we're asking them to sign with their mouse as well. So they can draw their signature here. All right. So now that we've gotten an idea of what some of the forms are that are included, let's go back to my inactive form here. I'd like to give you an idea of what it's like to actually create a new form or edit one that's already existing in your account. So to do that, you can either go here and create a new template, or in this case, I'm just going to click edit and keep working on this form that I was working on. One moment. Here we go. So we have our returning patient visit questionnaire. You can see I've started here. I'm going to put a text box where the patient can fill in their name. Now note, next to each of these form fields, there's a little pencil icon that you have, and this allows you to go into the field and adjust some of the settings. So in this case, we want to give it an element name. It automatically assigns it one, but let's go ahead and call it what it is, which is patient name. Here you can decide if you want that to be a required field or not. So I'm going to say that yes, your patient name is required on this document. And you can also assign a minimum character length. So if you want, for example, them to give you at least 3 letters, 3 characters, you can put a 3 there, for example. Or if you want it to be a maximum character length, you can do that too. So once I click save, now you'll see I've applied that required field, and the red dot is going to be there indicating it is required. So some of the other options over here on the right side menu, these are some of the fields that you can include as you're building your questions on your form. So here's where I stopped right here. Are there any updates to your contact information? What I want to do is give them the option to click either yes or no. So I'm going to bring them a radio button right here. I'm going to click and drag this over and post this here. I actually think I'm going to put it down below. So I'm going to go right here and just click enter to move it down a little bit. You'll see here's my pencil icon. So I'm going to go in here and edit this field. And we're going to call this field updates, yes or no. And yep, I'm going to want this to be required. Now for radio buttons, you can actually choose whether you want them to be horizontal, so displaying yes or no next to each other, or vertical, where you want them just stacked. So if you have a long list, for example, you may want them to display vertically. And then down here, you can go in and edit your answers. So my options are either going to be yes or no. You can add other answer options by clicking this answer button, or you can remove fields if you want to take these out just by clicking the trash can and clicking delete this answer. So you'll see here, I'm going to move it down to yes or no. And then over here, you also have a checkbox here if you want to select a default answer. So if I want the default answer to be yes, I could leave that as it is. But if I don't want a default answer, I can click it again and just take a default answer away. So here I'll click save. And I'm actually going to move this up a little bit. There we go. So now once they decide, yes, either I have new information or I don't, they can choose yes or no. Now I'm going to ask them to give me, for example, what is the information that you want to share with me? And so I'm going to put in here. Here we go. I'm just copying this over. If yes, please provide updates. And so what I'm going to do is just give them a text area. So here I'm going to go over here to text area, click, and I'm going to drag this text box right down into this area. Here I'm going to call it updates. And this one I'm not going to make a required field because they may not actually have any updates for me, and click save. So some of the other form of fields that you can include, of course, we talked about text box and text area. You can include a date field if you want them to give you a date. You can include the checkboxes field. So if you want, for example, you want them to be able to pick from a list of symptoms, like you saw in one of my earlier examples, you can drag over a checkboxes field as well. A nice new addition is that now we can include the host name or the participant name as a default. And so this will carry over into your form. If you want to just, instead of a text box here, let's say you want to just carry over the participant name from when you invited them to the session. You can just drag that over here and then that's automatically going to populate. All right, so let's take a look at how our form looks. Once you're done making your edits, you can just come down here. You'll notice right above this, it says, no, make this document inactive. So this is basically what I was showing you about keeping it in draft phase. So if you do decide that this document is complete and ready, you would just change it to yes, make this document active. So I'm going to leave it as a draft for now, but let's take a look at it. All right, so you'll see it has my questions here. The participant name was filled in right here just by default based on who the participant was. And then we've got our signature down here where they have to type in their name. All right, so if you're satisfied with the form, then of course, again, you come down here, make this an active document. You can save and preview again, but then we'll go back to templates. And now that we're back to templates, you'll see here's my document and it's no longer in inactive status. All right, so that's just a really quick preview of how it is to actually build a document in the platform. Let's talk for a minute about packets. So across the top, what you're seeing is all the different packets of documents within your account. You've got by default a couple of options. You've got a no documents, and then if you just want to send them all your documents, that's there in your account already. But if you want to create different packets for different circumstances, like you'll see here, I created new patient packet. And in my new patient packet, I wanted to include the medical history form, and I've set it to be required here. I want them to get the new patient information form. And then here's the post-visit survey that's optional. And then I also want them to sign a telehealth consent form. So you'll see I've set each document in my packet according to whether it should be required before, required after, optional, or you can exclude it from that packet. So let's say I want to create a new packet because I've just now created this returning patient visit questionnaire form. So this would not be for a new patient, but maybe someone I'm seeing again. I'll create new packet. I may just call it returning patient visit packet. Here you can add a description of what you'd like to, if you'd like to put a description of what you're including in this form or in this packet. And then once you click save, you'll see now I have this as a packet across the top of my table here. So I now have this returning patient visit packet, and I can go down here and say, okay, in this packet, I want to include my returning patient visit questionnaire. I'm going to set that to required before. And then, you know what, I'd also like them to have the option to fill out a post-visit survey. So I'm going to mark that one as optional. So in this packet, I'm going to have just those two documents. All right, now that we have our packets kind of set, let's go back to the main dashboard. And I'd like to show you what it's like when you're scheduling a session in Secure Video to assign a document packet to your participant. So let's create a session. We're going to do new scheduled session. We're going to do this one for, say, tomorrow morning. Oh, let's say 8 a.m. All right, my participant's name is Holly Lax. She's already in my account here. I've got her saved. We're going to email her invite. The time zone is already adjusted to my time zone. And here, now we've got this show participant documents. Once you have document packets built in your account, you're now going to see this option to include documents for your session. So here is a list of all the document packets that I have built in my account. You'll see here, here's the new one I just created for returning patient visit. So let's say Holly's a new patient. I'm going to assign her the new patient packet and click save. So of course, here my session has now been created, and you'll see I have the 3 forms that are built into that packet that are required, and Holly has to fill out these forms before her session. So if I come over here, I'm going to go to Holly's email account. And here's the invitation that I just received. So if I'm Holly, this is what I'm receiving. Here's my invitation from Dr. Coates. And yep, here's my, yeah, I'm going to RSVP. That sounds good. I'm going to go to this session. Sure. Confirm. And then now here I am in my waiting room page, and you'll see, of course, it's going to take me through the Zoom prompts. But if I go down here, I now can see all these documents that I'm supposed to fill out ahead of my session. So what I do is just click submit. And I'm going to come down here and start answering these fields. Okay, none of the above, none, no medications, no allergies, no history, and never. Holly is just an angel. All right, so when I submit that document, now you'll see it's going to automatically load up the next document for me as the patient to fill out. So now as Holly, I can just go in here and just keep working on my documents. Put in my phone number, my address, preferred method of contact. Yep. Yeah, I'm having headaches today. And I'm signing. So you can see as I'm filling out these documents from the patient or client perspective, it's a pretty easy process just to go through here and fill out all your forms. There you go, and submit.
Okay, that's the next possibility. We do have quite a couple of questions now, so maybe we want to take some time to answer the questions.
Sure, yeah. We are actually coming up on 30 minutes as well, and I do want to be respectful of people's time. If you were only planning on being here for half an hour, we will start to dive into some of the questions. I do just want to remind everybody, though, that we will be sending out the link for this recorded webinar so that you can have a chance to look at it later if you can't stay the whole time. All right, Sabrina, hit me. What do we got?
Yeah. Okay. So first question is, can patients sign by trackpad if they don't use a mouse?
Yes. So if they are not using a mouse and they have a trackpad, or if they're using, for example, their phone or their iPad to fill out the documents, they can simply sign with their finger. But if they are having trouble with the form, there is a button that they can click that says signature not working. So at least they can submit their hand type signature.
Okay, the next question is, can you download the completed forms and put them into another digital file?
You certainly can, yes. So inside the form, let's go back to Holly's, this is Dr. Coates' dashboard again. And I don't know if you happen to see that, but it did show, now that I've completed these documents, these are all showing as completed. If you click view next to any of the documents, you can download a PDF version of that document right here. Also, just while I'm here, if there are any documents that you have that need a counter signature where a provider would have to sign in addition to the patient or the client, you can click add your signature here, and then the provider can also sign the document as well. Now, if your session has already ended and you're going up here to features and e-documents to find a document later, so for example, if you want to download something later, you would still have that capability just by clicking view and then download. But we do also offer the ability to mass download documents. So here you'll see this button for download PDFs. This will take all the PDFs that are displayed here and download them all at one time into a file on your hard drive. So if you needed to export your documents and download them and store them somewhere else, you certainly could. Okay.
Okay, next question. How long before a scheduled session can clients complete their forms, and how do they get access?
Yeah, so they can actually complete their forms from the moment that they're invited to the session. As soon as they receive either their emailed or texted invitation, they can click into that waiting room. Let's go back to Holly's email here. They can click into the waiting room and go fill out that paperwork at any time up until their session. So as soon as you invite them and assign them the documentation, they could start filling it out right away. Now, if you notice here on the email invitation, it does say 3 documents are required before the session can start. That's because in my patient packet, I have 3 required documents that have to be filled out before the person can join their session. So they could also just click this link to get to complete the documents now. Now, of course, you'll see Holly's already completed theirs here.
Okay. Next question. If I am the only person using this account, am I automatically the administrator?
Yes.
Okay.
Good question.
Next question. Can you remind participants to complete forms after they were initially sent?
Yes, so Secure Video does send out 2 automatic reminders ahead of a telehealth session by default. The first one goes out 2 hours prior to the session. The second one goes out 10 minutes prior. These reminders are also going to include a reminder that there are documents to be completed. Now, and that said, you can also reach out to your patients separately or, however you choose to, just to remind them yourselves. But there are 2 automated reminders that go out with Secure Video sessions.
Okay, next question. Can we still insert graphics? I created a graphic header like letterhead for some of my forms.
You can, yes. I do caution though with inserting graphics. And let's just look at an example of this to show you what I'm talking about. If you insert an image into a file, make sure it's not a gigantic image so it doesn't have a problem loading. But also, when you download a PDF version of any of these documents, it is going to include a logo that you have included in your branding on your account. So let's take a look at one of those just to see what it looks like. If I go to this one and then download PDF, this is the PDF version of this account. So you'll see here, it has my telehealth consent form, but it does have my account's logo here at the top. So I only bring that up just to say it may end up that you have two logos on top of each other. So I just caution you on doing that. But it certainly is possible. And there may be other images that you want to incorporate other than just a logo, for example. Okay.
Okay. Is the post-visit survey automatically emailed to them after the session is closed?
So it depends. So if you have the post-visit survey set to optional, it's just going to appear in their list of documents that they can complete here. So here's the post-visit survey that I assigned for Holly. So she can switch to this and fill it out after the session ends. But if you set it to required after session, then what it's going to do is after someone ends the session, they're going to basically go back to this page and that follow-up survey is automatically going to display on their screen. So it's a matter of just either setting it to required after or making it an optional document along with their packet. Now that said, I will say, you can require someone all day long to fill out a document after the session ends, but there's nothing really stopping them from just clicking away from the browser and moving on. So if there's anything that it's imperative for you to collect information, we do advise that you put the requirement to required pre-session so that you're sure to get your information that you need.
Okay, next question. Do we have access to the filled out documents if we ever discontinue using SecureVideo in the future?
No, so the documents are in your account as long as your account exists. That said, you can, as I showed you before, you can download PDFs of all your documents. And we typically advise people when they're closing their account to just be sure you export any data that you no longer want in your SecureVideo account. So of course, it would just be a couple extra steps to pull out your information. But those documents, if you are no longer using SecureVideo and don't have an account anymore, those documents are not going to be available anymore after that.
Okay, then the next question is progress notes, question mark?
Progress notes. I'm not sure what's meant by that. Maybe whoever posted that question might elaborate on that a little bit.
That would be great. Okay, let's go to the next question then. Is there a way to assign a packet and also another document simultaneously in a new session, such as new patient packet and ROI, which I tend to keep separate, but sometimes like to add in for a new patient?
Yeah, so there is only the ability to assign one packet per participant per session. So what I would advise in that case is if you have situations where you may want the new patient information, but you sometimes may also want, another document included, to set up two different packets and just make sure you assign the right one accordingly. So for example, version 1 could be new patient packet. The other packet, version 2, could be new patient packet plus XYZ form. But the amount of packets that you can build in your account is unlimited. So just whatever your needs are, you can set them up that way. And again, our support team's happy to help you set those up too.
Okay, next question is, how do super bills work? Can they be automated?
Yeah, so super bills, what I will do is just, this is going to be the next part of the demonstration, is just to show you the process when a host needs to assign a document to themselves. So let's say, for example, in this case of Holly Flax, I need to assign a super bill to myself as the provider. So what you do in that case is go to the session, and then you find the Manage button, and you're going to click on Host Documents. So from there, you can select from your document packets. And in my case, I'll assign super bill. Then when I click Update, you'll see that now I have my own document that has to be filled out right here in the session documents here. And so to fill that out, I would just go into Submit. And here's my SuperBill example template. This is just one we have as an example built into the account. And then if needed, you could sign it and submit. So yeah, providers may definitely have situations where they need to assign a bill to themselves or assign a document to themselves to fill out, such as a post-visit evaluation or something like that. So if that's needed and that's the case, then that's how you would do it. Again, it's manage and then host documents, and then you assign that to yourself. Okay.
Okay, also can clients download or return to see completed forms?
Clients can download their forms. So if I go back over to Holly's view, you'll see now here are the completed forms. Holly can go view her medical history form that shows how she filled it out. And then the same as the provider, down here at the bottom, they can download a PDF and keep a copy for themselves.
Okay. Does the patient need to be in the waiting room to complete the documents?
Yes, so they would either need to click the link that's provided in either their emailed or texted invitation, or the documents would also appear in the waiting room page. But yes, that is the place to go to fill them out.
Next question. Can you specify a due date and time to receive the completed documents?
That is, it's not something that you can specify automatically, but Secure Video does now offer the capability to customize your session invitations. If you notice here, this is the invitation that was sent to Holly, and I have my cancellation policy inserted here. So this is something where if you need custom language, such as you must complete your paperwork a minimum of 6 hours prior to your appointment, something like that, that could be added as just a customized note on your session invitations and reminders here. So if you need help with doing that, just reach out to support and we're happy to help you set that up. Okay, I think we've got time for a few more, Sabrina.
Okay, we have about 7, 8 more questions.
Okay.
Okay, next question. When a participant declines a session, is it possible for the host to insert an automatic message in response?
I don't believe so. That may be something I have to follow up with our support team on, though, and just get back to you. If you will, Sabrina, maybe just note the person asking and we can follow up on that one.
Okay. Okay. The next question is, how long does SecureVideo store completed documents?
Completed documents are stored in your SecureVideo account as long as your account exists. So there is no time limit for which they can be stored in there. They are not deleted from the account unless you manually delete them by clicking that delete button.
Okay. How do you brand the account, like using a letterhead?
Oh, yes. So that is a feature that is in the dashboard under features and branding. So the branding feature allows you to do things like what you see here, where I've added some customized colors. I've added a logo to the top left corner. So that is how you would go about doing that. And then it just gives you the opportunity to upload your logo as a PNG file and change your colors. So again, definitely let support know if you could use some help with that feature as well.
Okay. Can you explain how SecureVideo can assist in setting up the documents?
Yes. So what we could do is if you would email documents that you already have, like forms that you're already using in your practice, to support@SecureVideo.com. What they can do is take a look at the forms. If it is a pretty straightforward form where we can copy and paste a lot of the information, a lot of the times we can do that for you in just a matter of a few minutes and go ahead and add it to your account for you. The only caveat would be that if you have just quite a few documents and they all tend to be a little bit more complex, where there's a lot of different drop downs or checkboxes or tables that we need to build, then that could get into a situation where some professional services may be needed. And so what we would do is just take a look at what you have and then give you back an estimate on how long it would take for us to do it. And if there is any added cost to it, we would let you know, and you can decide whether or not you'd like to move forward. But I would suggest for anybody that's on this call, if you're trying to incorporate e-documents into your telehealth practice, go ahead and send us at least, maybe a starting document or 1 or 2 forms that you'd like to try to incorporate, and let support help you get started, because this is something that we care very much about, people being able to use this feature, and really don't want people to get stuck on the whole process of building the forms themselves. So definitely encourage you to reach out for help. All right. Sabrina, any more questions that stick out to you? We probably should wrap up here, but if you've got maybe 1 or 2 more we could cover.
Okay, let's see. Is there a charge for using this feature? I think you kind of...
Yeah, no, not at all. This is a feature that is included as one of SecureVideo's standard feature sets, so no additional cost.
Okay, this also answers the next question, that this is included in the standard monthly price. One more question is, how does Superbill then get to the client?
That could be something that is, once the Superbill is completed, it could be transferred through our chat feature. I probably won't go into the whole secure chat and file transfer. That would be probably a completely different webinar with an entirely different subject. But just know that that capability is there, and that's a great way to send a completed file securely to one of your patients or your clients. So I would say using the chat feature. Again, maybe we can follow up and give you some more specific instructions. And that may be the subject of our next webinar too.
Okay, then I would say we come to the last question, and the rest of the questions we certainly will answer in email. Is a progress notes form available to track patient progress?
There can be a progress notes form built. It could just include text areas where you could type in notes, and that could be something that's assigned to the host, as I showed you this process for assigning a host document. So that is one way that you could go about doing it. The other way is to use our session notes feature, where within a session, you can click session notes and then type open-ended notes that are associated with the participants in that feature. So if you're not using that feature as well, that may be another good one to consider as far as making progress notes. Okay. Thank you so much for so many great questions and engagement. I really appreciate this from everybody. Just a couple things I'll show just to kind of wrap up today. One, just a reminder that we are here to help. Again, our team is very interested in helping anyone that's interested in incorporating this feature into their practice. So our suggestion is maybe email your forms to support@SecureVideo.com, and they can get back to you after taking a look at what you have and just give you an idea of how long it would take for us to build your forms for you. Or if you're a total do-it-yourselfer and you'd like to try to do this yourself, just keep in mind, this is a screenshot of my templates page. And then down here is a button that says Learn How. This is a button that will link right to our support articles that show detailed documentation and screenshots on how to do everything that we've covered today. So those resources are there if you would prefer to try to incorporate these yourself. But again, just please know that we're happy to help if we can help you get over any hurdles you might be having, or such as, a specific case in a document where maybe we didn't talk about it today, but you have an idea for a document that could help your practice. We'd love to hear from you and hear your suggestions and questions. And we appreciate you guys attending. I just put our email addresses here for Sabrina and myself if you have any questions or anything that we can follow up with you on. And again, of course, you can always reach out to our support team at support@SecureVideo.com. Another thing I will ask just as we wrap up today is, as I mentioned, we are hoping to make this a regular series of webinars so that we can help our customers better utilize the platform and know what features are in there and available to them, just to help make their telehealth experience even better. So what I would ask is, if you have any ideas for the next set of webinars, if you would really like me to spend time touching on the chat feature, for example, or session notes, these are some that we would love to hear from you and what you're interested in learning more about. So please know that feedback is always welcome. All right, and we appreciate everyone being here today. I'll stop sharing from there. And thank you so much for your using Secure Video. We are grateful that you took the time to be here today. So thank you so much. Again, I'm Kate Brandis. This is Sabrina Smith. Nice to be with you all this afternoon. Take care.
Have a great day.